The company conducting a review of 2020 election results in Maricopa County, Arizona, has turned over its findings. The review not only confirmed President Biden won there, but he did it by an even larger margin. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe reports from the White House.
Tonight, a Republican push to overturn November's election results in Arizona hit a snag. It turns out President Biden did win, and then some. A months-long review of ballots in Maricopa County, 2.1 million in all, found that President Biden's 45,000-vote victory grew slightly. It found him 99 more votes and 261 fewer for former President Trump. What, if any, comment does the White House have on the apparent results of the new GOP-backed review of ballots in Maricopa County?
It confirmed what we have all known for some time and what millions and millions of people in the country know.
The review, funded by nearly $6 million from Trump supporters, was run by Cyber Ninjas, a firm with no prior experience running official election audits. County officials said the review, which also cost taxpayers $425,000, was littered with errors and faulty conclusions. During the hand recount, volunteers spent weeks searching for signs of fraud. Many of the state's top Republicans called it a waste of time, pushed without evidence by the former president.
There's absolutely no evidence of fraud, so he's simply making this up.
But similar 2020 election probes are ramping up with Trump's support in other states, including Texas, where state officials this week announced a review of 4 counties after Trump called for it. Meanwhile, 4 key Trump associates have been called to testify about the president's actions in the buildup to the January 6th attack. Subpoenas went to all 4, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, asking for depositions to be taken next month. Trump today vowed to fight back.
This is just a continuation of the political witch hunt.
The White House says it will cooperate with that January 6th Select Committee, meaning it could eventually hand over things like documents or phone records from what transpired here that day. Officials here say they disagree with former President Trump's belief that he can exert executive privilege over what happened that day. Lana?
Ed, thank you. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News political reporter Adam Brewster. Adam, good to have you. So Arizona's Senate has now gone through the report and it's been posted online. Do we know what happened during their presentation and what else is in the report that might be of interest to our viewers?
It was about a 3-hour presentation, a very thorough walkthrough of some of the findings from those contractors. Even the Senate president at one point sort of encouraged them to keep things moving along. And they presented, certainly that finding that they showed the tally that Maricopa County had during its official canvass, that President Biden won the county by about 45,000 votes and won Arizona. It did, try to raise several sorts of questions about election administration and cybersecurity and whether there were ballots cast that were not. The county has fiercely pushed back against all of this, saying, it was riddled with errors. There were many misunderstandings of the election systems and the way things work, saying that some of the accusations they were made were just talking about the wrong type of thing that a speaker was alleging. So, no movement from the county on their end in terms of some of the things that were presented today by those who conducted the review at the Arizona Senate.
Have Arizona Republicans signaled that they'll continue to contest the election results, or might this actually be the end of the challenges there?
Well, certainly the work will continue. Arizona Senate President Karen Fann said she has talked about crafting legislation based on some of the recommendations that were put forward by contractors today. And that's been a concern of election officials, right, who have said, criticized this process and the way that it was done and the lack of understanding and lack of experience by many of those who were involved, saying some of those recommendations could lead to bad policy and bad election laws in the future. Now, it remains to be seen what the appetite will be among even Republicans in Arizona. Some Senate Republicans who supported this process in the beginning have soured on it. They have a very narrow majority in their state Senate. So we'll have to see what sort of legislation comes out of this. Arizona Senate President Karen Fann also sent a letter to the state attorney general saying that there might be some criminal aspects that he wants to look into and investigate, related to certain aspects, be it cybersecurity or ballot signatures, making sure that the state's laws were followed. Now that Attorney General Mark Brnovich is a Republican who is running for the United States Senate, we could certainly see that becoming a campaign issue. This whole idea of fraud in the 2020 election is still persisting within Republican circles, particularly within Republican primary campaign circles around the country, whether that's at the U.S. Senate level, gubernatorial levels, or even down into state legislative levels.
So, Adam, let me understand this. Do they concede, though, the results of this recount? Are they acknowledging that President Biden won, but they still are advancing this narrative that there was election fraud? Is that the idea?
The narrative has sort of changed slightly to the tally was accurate, right? We were given a number of ballots, and the count that was done was accurate in November. But there are all these sorts of questions that exist about whether there were people voting who shouldn't have been voting, and that tries to raise doubt. That's sort of been the talking point among those on the right today. And again, Maricopa County pushed back on some of those sets of ballots that people raised, saying, there was nothing wrong with many of these. There is ways to explain the fact that there might be two people named Joseph Smith who were born in 1980 who live in a county the size of Maricopa. That was sort of one of the areas, a match of name and birth year, and whether there were people who voted within multiple counties. That was one of the things that the county pushed back on today, saying that is entirely possible that two people with the same name, born in the same year, both independently voted in this election.
Not fraud. That for two people to be named the same thing and born in the same year. All right. Adam, there are similar election reviews going on in other states, as you're well aware. Tell us the latest on those, and could the outcome of the Maricopa County review have any effect on those other challenges?
It will be interesting to see the reaction out of places like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and even Texas, where last night, as Ed mentioned, the Secretary of State's office said they wanted to review the election in 4 counties in the state. But those reviews in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have kind of been lingering for several weeks or several months, and they have started to pick up in earnest with subpoenas in Pennsylvania, with threats of, requiring clerks to compel documents and testimony, which could lead to subpoenas in that state. Now, officials in both, Republicans in both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have said, like they said in Arizona, the Republican lawmakers, that this is not about overturning 2020. It's about looking at the processes and restoring faith in the process. But the initial reaction from some of those who had doubts before seems to be that those doubts still persist even after this was all done in Arizona. So it remains to be seen whether those will continue. I would expect that those processes will continue. The state Senate president from Pennsylvania, who's a Republican, was giving an interview today and said, we're going to fight, against people who are trying to block us from doing this. We're going to keep doing our job. This is our job to make sure that this happens. So certainly there will be a lot of eyes on Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, 2 of the other states that President Biden flipped in 2020 en route to his victory.
All right, Adam, thank you.
Thanks, Lana.